Welcome to the Conscious Radio Network's YouTube channel. Become enlightened, have fun, and tell all your friends and family to share with everyone they know. You can find us on Facebook and stay up to date on our Facebook group, or find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Our podcast can be found on Libsyn, iHeart, Spotify, Google Podcast, and more. Most of all, remember to go to our official website at consciousradionetwork.com for podcasts, posts, future shows, and scheduling. We also want to welcome our international audience. Don't stop now and join the community. Subscribe today.
This is the Conscious Radio Network.
Hey, good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be on the spaceship we call Earth. Welcome to Conscious Radio Network's live podcast series, The Weekly Seance. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Paul Meckes. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like, share, and comment. Tonight, are you still searching for your true purpose? Our guest tonight dives deep into the human design and examines what it means to discover your true purpose. Angela Lundy first started with using human design on herself, then on her clients to learn how to operate in alignment. She is a manifesting generator. With this, she lives a multi-passionate life, doing things she loves. Her passion also in astrology and gene keys. In her coaching, she brings in meditation, journaling, hypnosis. She is evolving on purpose. What steps can you take to start discovering your true purpose? Let's welcome to the show for the first time, Angela.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yes.
Welcome. So, how'd this all start for you? How did you know that this existed? How did this find you?
Yeah, it definitely is one of those things that does find you. I think that any of these tools find you when the timing is right. And I was just one of those weird kids that came in like, why am I here? Do I have to do this again? What's going on? And I just knew from a really young age that I what am I doing here? That there's a reason, right? And so I haunted kind of the self-help section when I was like 10, and I was always just doing all of the things to kind of learn about myself. And then I went off to college and got a little bit jaded and kind of lost that searching and had to find it again. I had my children and I was in the military and I thought that I was just going to start this great career. And then it hit me again, like, why am I here? What's going on? And so I had to start searching again. And so the search led me to an Edgar Cayce school. I don't know if everybody knows who Edgar Cayce is, but he's a really well-known kind of prophet. He was called the sleeping prophet, I think they called him, because he would put himself into almost like a sleep state, and then you could ask him anything and he could travel through, space, time, whatever, and get these answers for people. And they started a school and you learned meditation, hypnosis, all of the things, dream work, but you also learned the Enneagram and human design and all of that. And it was just a snapshot. But there was always something there for human design that would have me coming back. And I was listening to a podcast a little bit later on, and they were talking about human design. And I was like, oh man, I really need to study this. And so I'd pull out my book and I'd try to learn it. And it's such a big book. And I just couldn't figure it out. And so I'd put it down and then I'd hear something or it'd come up again and I'd pick it up, until I finally decided to go through and become a human design reader and study it hardcore, go all in on it.
Yeah, especially that much reading. I mean, I kind of get intimidated when I see these huge books, especially like, Stephen King books. It's like they're always massively thick, and it's like, I can't read that. And it's like, so, and I'll just flip through it, or something in your head goes, sleep on it.
I wish I could osmosis all of my learning. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Because I heard that was one thing too that Edgar Cayce did
Yes,
was
he did.
he would put the book under his pillow and he would sleep and he'd
Yeah,
wake up the next day and he could actually he did that as a child. I think his
yeah.
father was asking him to I think the dictionary or I forget which book or something,
Hmm.
and he recited like
Yeah,
word for word
yeah.
just by
He was
sleeping on it.
amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Can
My
you
one
do
of
that
my
yet?
one of my friends after we took the we went to back to the it's like a master's program. We did it together. And she tried it for a while. She was like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, I was like, it probably won't work for me." But she was convinced and I don't think it ever worked for her either.
yeah,
But yeah, when you really have this thirst for the knowledge, you will go back to it and go back to it and go back to it. And it's one of those things that the more that you learn it, the more that it sinks in a little bit deeper and you get that deeper understanding until you just have it in your cells. So
yeah, yeah. Now explain to those listeners and viewers what is human design?
yeah, so human design really is like most people know what astrology is, and you're still in human design, you're taking that astrology into account. You're taking the time of birth, the all of the birth information you need, your birth date, your birth time, and the location. You put that in, and then the it was actually Ra Uru that he downloaded this system. And I thought, how could a guy download this system? But he really just downloaded this new way of looking at the same information because he's just putting the Chinese I Ching, which is thousands of years old, astrology, thousands of years old,
Yeah,
Kabbalah together, and the chakra system. And so he just combined all of these different systems, put them in a new form so that it was they call it the mechanics because it really looks when you're looking at a chart, it looks like a circuit board to me. You know, you
yeah,
have channels. It's got this body graph that you can see what center is lit up, where the channels are going. And so for me, every time I see it, I can see like, ooh, this is how they get information. This is what's consistent for them. And so whenever you're defined in human design, it just means that you are putting out, you're transmitting the signal, and wherever you're open is where
yeah,
you are the one that takes in that information. Somebody transmits
yeah,
it and you take it in. And we all know that we do this, right? We interact with different people and we pick up different energies. But human design just gives me a way that I can see it and then I can understand it for myself,
hmm,
for my clients, for my family. I have 2 kids. I can see how their energy works. My husband, big ahas when I could see how his energy worked, right?
yeah,
Like why are you like that? Why do you get so upset? Well, he's got an open emotional center. I'm defined,
mhm,
right? My emotional wave is not contingent on other people. His is. And so when you know this, you just have so much more information on how to interact with other people in your life, how you take in information, how you really operate. It's like an operating system.
yeah. It's kind of like none of us are born with a user's manual when we come in the
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
And human design essentially is like the user's manual. Like,
It
why
is.
do we do the things we do?
Yeah.
And kind of realizing why, and then kind of going, okay, well, I want to change that. I don't really want to be doing this all the time.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, especially having those open emotional centers because it's like, oh my God.
Well, and most of the things that we really want to change is where we're open and where we've taken on other people. And we're like, oh, I better do this because this is how I should be.
Yeah,
And when we can kind of let go of that, we can really be who we came here to be. We can really operate in this energy that we came here to operate in. And the more you can get into that, the more in alignment you are, the more synchronicities are happening, the more you can just settle in and really be guided to wherever you need to be.
yeah. What's been the biggest breakthrough for you as far as a client that came to you?
There's so many. It just depends on. I had a couple of high schoolers that their mom bought the reading, and I really loved getting them at that point because it
Yeah,
was like you could see that they were already letting go of some things and relaxing in and understanding how they operate. They were sisters, so they got to kind of see how each other operates and how they're the same and how they're different and all of that. I did a gal that now has a podcast, and she was like just on the edge, like she was ready to go for her dreams and everything, and until she understood her emotional wave and she understood how she was operating before and how she wanted to operate and how that was exactly what she needed, and she just kind of settled and just took off. Like you could just tell when somebody's ready, they just need that little bit of confirmation, that little permission slip to be like, yes, this is what I need to be doing, or this is, or sometimes you can kind of map somebody around to give them just that. It's always subtle, right? Like there's nobody that I've ever worked with that's like, I didn't know that about myself. It's never something like that, but it is something that could be, ooh, you just gave me permission to be me.
Yeah, I gave you permissions because someone obviously knows you here on the chat, so you can actually chat back to them and stuff like that. So now now you've been working in the human design arena for how long now?
I have been doing this I full time for just over a year, but I've been studying it for 6 years and just kind of dipping my toe with all of my poor family had to go through. They don't want me to tell them everything about themselves sometimes and all of that. So I relaxed into that and started doing it professionally and leaving them out of it. So.
Yeah. Now, do you think the being in the service, and thank you for serving for the country, it's an honor. And do you think serving in the military has have you seen how this led you into this field?
So the military really was just, it was something that I had to do to kind of break out of. I was working a job I didn't love. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, I have to do something, right? And it was one of those, I have an emotional wave. Prince Harry has the same one. So I always if I see something happen in him, I'm like, oh, I wonder if he jumped on a high. But I have this emotional wave that gives me like this, oh, this will be so exciting. This will be the next adventure. I have to try it, right?
Yeah.
And so the military was like, I got to do something different. I don't want to sit at a desk anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I saw this global force for good commercial, the Navy. And my grandfather was in the Navy and my other grandfather was. And so I was like, oh, I'm just going to go talk to him. And I ended up getting so excited that I signed up that day and it was just kind of one of those leaps. And it led me to a ton of amazing experiences. But I really thought that when I got out, I was going to go back to college. I was going to become like a nutritionist or something because I was so into health. And I just kept crashing over and over and over when I got out. And I was like, I don't know what I want. And so human design kind of found me and helped me figure out why I couldn't stick to anything. And I couldn't stick to anything because I did have this really high and this really low, this emotional wave that would this will be great. Oh, I hate it now. Right? Like that's how my emotional wave works. Oh, this is so wonderful. I'm going to start this business. And when I understood that this is just a mechanical wave that's always going to be there, I was able to kind of oh, I don't have to throw it out. I don't have to jump at the high and I don't have to throw it out at the low.
Yeah.
So it really brought me back to how I operate so that I can operate in a healthier, more relaxed way, knowing why I do the things that I do.
Yeah, especially phobias. If somebody has a phobia, somebody gets bent out of shape for very trivial things. Now to them it's not trivial, but to us, it's our perception of it. Like somebody who doesn't like shiny objects. Just to throw something out there.
Yeah.
I knew somebody like that who couldn't stand shiny objects. It's like their silverware, the silverware that they owned
Yeah.
was like had a matte finish to it,
Yeah.
and it wasn't shiny, and they
Yeah.
couldn't wear jewelry. And if they did, it was just like, like the rubber bands or something like that, or that
Hmm.
they just could not stand. I'm like, how is that possible? Because I there's cars are shiny. I mean, everything is just yeah, it was very awkward. Um, but I haven't seen him in a long time. But yeah, things like that. Now, does human design help people battle certain phobias or certain idiosyncrasies or habits that they can
I think that
find
if
them
they
their way
can,
out?
yeah, I think that if they can lean into this, and for that, I would probably use hypnosis, right? Like I have
Mm,
lots of tools in the toolbox for all the different things. So that brings up to me, you have this line in the head that sometimes can get on a loop. And if you just have one little channel, and
yeah,
it'll loop and loop and loop and loop. But what I would do is I would give them that assurance that this is just how you're made. This is how your brain works. It does get on a loop. And then I would give them tools such as like hypnosis or different breathing techniques or different things to kind of slow that loop down
yeah.
and get out of that, because we just kind of get stuck in something. And so he's kind of fixated on that shiny object thing because, maybe something happened as a child or something, and he just
Yeah.
has that kind of mind that loops. And so that's what came up for me that I would
Now, does,
use.
does it also kind of touch a little bit into past life memory?
So not that I did study hypnosis for past life regression. And so I do past life regression hypnosis if you're in person. I can't do it online just because it's such a deep state
Yeah.
that I don't want you to be in such a deep state and I can't be there if something, if something
Yeah.
happened. But in person, I do the quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is a past life. But for human design, I don't actually use human design for past life. Human design is it's a very masculine and very like mechanical system. This is how
Mm,
you operate. This is who you are in this incarnation.
yeah.
Astrology brings up a lot of past life for me when I look at astrology, because you are all of the degrees, like you have to kind of experience every degree. And so you can kind of see where you came from and where you're going there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Huh. I'm gonna put up your website so people can find you
yeah.
and your podcast. So you also have a podcast called Evolving on Purpose.
Yeah. And I just
Um,
try to bring on people that will share their story of how they got to where they are, because I think that we, as human beings, are story led. We want to hear ourselves and other people. We want to understand how other people got there. And that's something that I try to do with human design too, is like, let's kind of rewrite those stories in a positive way, right?
yeah. Yeah. So your website, for those who are listening and can't see this, they can find you at evolvingonpurpose.org. O-R-G. Um, Now, your podcast is what, every week?
Yes, weekly podcast. Yes.
All right. And they can find that on your website as well. What are gene keys?
So the gene keys, Richard Rudd studied with Ra Uru, who's the founder of human design, and he actually ended up creating a human design school in the UK, and he taught it for many years. But he saw something kind of missing in human design,
Mhm.
and so he took the 64 channels out of human design and he made them into his own system. He asked Ra for permission, and Ra gave it to him. And so he created this new system that's more of a contemplation, and I really, really love it because human design has its place. How does the mechanics of you work? Where's your energy going? But the gene keys gives you something to contemplate. It gives you the high of the expression of every single one. And you have so many different, your sun is here and your earth is here. And you've got all these different expressions. And so it gives you kind of the high and the low of them. And then you can really contemplate in a deep, meaningful way. So you can kind of make these changes, because a reading is beautiful. I've gotten a million, astrology readings, and I've had human design readers, and you walk away and you're sometimes like, well, what do I do with this? And so I'm always trying to find ways that people can interact with it on their own
Yeah.
so that they can really deeply bring this into their lives. And for Gene Keys, that's one thing. One of my Gene Keys is the low is kind of vanity. And at first I'm like, what? But when I really felt into it, it was like I wasn't putting myself out there because I thought that I had to be perfect. I had to look perfect. I had to sound perfect. I had to do it perfect. And that was just me living in that vanity, right? Like I can't put myself out there because somebody might not think I'm perfect. And when I really saw that, I was like, I've got to not live in that low expression, right? I have to live in the higher expression of
living in a higher frequency, a
yeah,
higher vibration.
yeah.
So Gloria Haas is chimed in here on the chat. She says, "Is human design similar to EMDR?"
No, it isn't. So human design is a reading. I would give you a reading similar to an astrology reading, but in a different way. EMDR would be more like a therapy, such as hypnosis or something or tapping or something that kind of rewrites that brainwave. But human design is we're looking at what is the brainwave? We're looking at how are you designed? Some people have this doubt that just goes and goes and goes. Some people have this kind of abstract confusion that I can kind of see which brainwave you have and where it goes so we can kind of uncover it. And then we can use a different tool to move past it.
Yeah. Now, when somebody signs up for your program or for your studies or now you have a course, correct?
So I have either one reading or you could do a family reading because I think it's so important to know your spouse, know your children, know, whoever you want to know, right? Like we can put them together. We can see how you interact. We can go over how they're designed. Or I have a coaching, which is for 4 sessions. So that way we can go a little bit deeper. We can use some of these tools. But I always encourage people just to sign up for a reading. And if you come to one reading and you're like, I really want to work with you more, I'll discount that coaching session to reflect that you just set up for the 4 coaching. But that way you can test it out and you'll get so much out of a reading that everybody should have a reading, I think. I think it's wonderful.
So remotely, the readings that you do, other than the hypnosis and stuff like that, all the readings are virtual. You can do it online or over the phone.
Yeah, I like to do it via Zoom because then I can put your chart in front of you. So you're sitting comfortably at your home. I'm sitting comfortably at my home. I pull up your chart. We're on the call. I can record it so you can go back and listen to the whole thing because I give a lot of information. I really want to teach you in a way that you can understand this. And so it is a lot of information. Most people go back and listen to it several times. But that way you have the recording, you have your chart in front of you. You can ask me all the questions, but we can go through every single part of your design and really come away with whatever your focus is. Is it that you just want to live a more fulfilled life, or you're kind of struggling to see what your purpose is? We can dive into that a little bit. Everybody comes in here with it's called an incarnation cross, which is what is your purpose? Some of them are a little more esoteric and a little bit more like you're just being this energy. And some of them are pretty straightforward. Mine is the cross of education, and it really drives me to make sure that everybody has access to this information. The keys to the kingdom. Everybody should know themselves. Everybody should understand themselves. And so that's kind of my passion.
That is important too, and teaching people how to read their chart.
Yeah.
You give them this information, and some people just walk away going, all right, right. Like somebody just having like a card reading or a tarot card reading and stuff like that. They won't necessarily absorb that information, and only bits and pieces do they take away and actually remember it. But actually sitting down with you and going over it and teaching somebody how this works and how to read and how to interpret it is definitely well worth it.
I would love to get a group coaching started at some point where everybody can come and learn this in a way that is super supportive, because I think everybody should be able to pull up their own, even astrology. I'm trying to learn astrology in a way that I can just hand to anybody, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just so important that we don't have these people that you know, they can tell me who I am. And it's like, no, I want it to be interactive. I want you to really feel it and know it for yourself.
Yeah. Do you think that some of our human design in general are some of the mechanics, the lost mechanics that have, or knowledge, ancient knowledge that has been taught and kind of relates to the ancient mystery schools? And this is
Oh,
something
yeah.
that's kind of just, one of these mechanics that we're starting to I wouldn't say reinvent the wheel, but rediscovered.
Yeah, I think it is put in a new and interesting way, but it does use these ancient studies. The Chinese I Ching has been around forever, and it's the
Mm.
basis of all. Um, th- just like they say, there's only 7 stories, in the human experience. Like
Yeah.
we have these same energies, but they're all, when you look at a chart, there's like a billion different charts, right? Like you're going to have all of the same information, but just in a little bit different way, just that's unique to you. And
Yeah.
and I think that, yeah, giving everybody this knowledge is something that's important. I think everybody should have access to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the podcast you have, that's is it same time every week, same day every week?
Yeah, I'm not quite as organized as you. I try to put it out on Sunday night, and
Yeah.
my week this week it won't upload no matter what I do. So I just
Oh.
I'm like, am I getting flagged for something? So I'm gonna download another episode
Yeah.
tonight and see if that one will go through. But otherwise, I'm gonna have to change platforms. I don't know. It's all the fun stuff being in this earthly existence, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I do try to drop it Sunday night, so it'll be there Monday.
Yeah, trying to get an idea of what platform works. Believe me, I've gone through several. And yeah, if you need any help, let me know. And
Yeah.
especially as far as like finding the right one, I can give you information of the one I use. Lipson is the one I use.
Okay.
And I haven't had any issues thus
Yeah.
far. So,
Yeah.
but now, as far as let's see, I had a couple questions here. Well, no, other than your podcast, and what students. So, for what students have to look forward to, as far like what issues out there, like for somebody who's like, how is this right for me? How can I apply this?
Yeah. I think that if this calls to you, it's definitely right to you. And I think that is what I'm really trying to stress on almost every single one of my guests. I've been noticing a theme. I've been talking about intuition. And I
Yeah,
feel like we've kind of given our intuition away in a way. And so it's finding your way back to, is this right for me? Is this correct for me? And so if this kind of calls to you, if it excites you, I'm releasing a podcast. Hopefully it comes out tonight, that talks about really all we have to do is follow our joy. And so if this human design thing is kind of feels joyful and feels brightening and feels expansive for you, then it has everything you're going to need. Like you can come in and you could start anywhere. There's so many free tools out there. You could go to human design, Google free chart, and pull up your chart and look at it. And at first you might be like, what the heck is this? First, you're going to get the types. There's 4 types. And so you'll get your types. And that kind of gives you this broad, almost like I'm a Gemini, or, not every generator is the exact same way, but it gives you a little bit more definition as to how your energy works. And then you can move forward to the profile, and that gives you a little bit more energy towards it. And you could just follow the thread. You could, Google, you can Instagram, you can learn all of these different things. But if you really want to know more, then yeah, getting a reading or working with somebody like me that can really teach you how to really
yeah,
understand this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely teaching people teaching people what it is and how it can help you, um, and like we mentioned before, how to interpret it.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then you'll want to grab everybody's chart. I've got all the different people, like all of my family members, all my friends, everybody's charts. And it just gives me so much more understanding on why they come at things differently than I do. Why do they, like even there's 6 profile lines and I can see a 5 line, right? Like a 5 line wants to fix you. I've got the answer. I can fix you. I can take you there. They want to pick you up and carry you on. They're the superheroes in this life. And they always are like, you say something, well, I heard about, like they just want to fix you, and that's okay. But sometimes those 5 lines are over fixing and they're over giving, and they need to take a step back and say, hey, am I taking care of me first?
Yeah.
Or am I? And so I love looking at the profile lines, all of the different ones. You've got the investigator. They're the people that just need a little bit more information. If they were on a date, they'd have the list, like, do you do that? Like checking it off, making sure. And the 2s, they kind of like to kind of hide. I'm a 2. I kind of hide, and then people call me out, and I'm like, oh yeah, I am kind of extroverted, kind of introverted. I'm not sure which one am I.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Now, can a person's chart change through their life?
So they're not going to change, but I think of life as a spiral, right? And so we're always kind of seeing the same problems over and over, the same patterns come up. But instead of going in a circle, you're spiraling up. So you're seeing it at a different level. So will I interact with my chart differently as I gain knowledge and as I kind of expand and see it from a higher level? Yes, I interact with my chart way differently than when I first learned about my human design. But it's not going to change. It's only going to change how you interact with it, not what's actually there.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's this isn't the first time I've heard of human design, but
do you know your design at all? Have you looked it up?
I have not.
Well, go look it up.
Not yet. I have not yet. I'm working on it. One show at a time.
Yes. That's the only bad thing about being you. You learn about all this amazing information,
I know.
but
It's
then
like
it's
I
on to
learn
the
about
next.
all this
You
stuff.
don't.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's like having time to apply it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, that's a quick half hour. What would be a good takeaway? What would you like to tell the audience is a good takeaway for the audience before we leave?
I would just love to leave everybody with that wherever you are is exactly where you're supposed to be, that whatever is meant for you will find you, and just kind of relax and be really kind to yourself and just follow what kind of lights you up, what really feels right. You don't have to know human design. Is it a little like fast track? I love fast tracks, right? Like I want to evolve as fast as possible. So I love it. But you don't need any of this. You just need that inner intuition that tells you, ooh, this kind of lights me up. I'm going to make this for dinner. I'm going to listen to this. I'm going to choose this Netflix. Just listening to what really lights you up is going to lead you exactly where you've got to be.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, it will. Let me put your website back up again. That was a Facebook page. Yeah. Go check Angela out at www.evolvingonpurpose.org. She's got a podcast, and she can help build your chart. Maybe a little hypnosis, but that's an in-person thing, right?
I can do a little hypnosis on Zoom. I will get you into a calm theta state so that you can kind of cut out that ego mind, that loud mind, and then we can do some work. But I just wouldn't do like a deep regressive, like a past life regression online. But I will do. I will definitely. I love doing a little bit of light hypnosis just to like clear that. Maybe that. The mind really wants to tell us that it's really smart, but it's not going to get you there, right?
Yeah.
Your inner being, your body, your awareness, your consciousness just needs that mind to quiet down so it can really shine through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Angela, it's been a wonderful, wonderful show. Thank you for joining us here on the Weekly Seance.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. My
You are
first
very,
live.
very welcome. And we're live, the
Yeah.
first live. So yeah, everybody who doesn't know, this is Angela's first live show.
Yes.
So first time for everything.
Thank you, everybody,
Yes.
for watching and putting your input. It was wonderful to
Yeah,
have
thank you
here.
everybody for watching, and thank you again, Angela, and you're welcome back on if you got something new coming down the pike, a book or a new part of the program and stuff like that. Let us know, and we'll share it with the world.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Angela, and thank you everybody for listening to or watching Conscious Radio Network's The Weekly Seance. And until next week, y'all have a good evening.